So now I'm going to show you the jet engine generator function in Spaghetti CAD. But before I do, I just want to quickly mention a few things. First of all, I'm not going to explain how a jet engine works. If you do not know how a jet engine works, then you should not be 3D printing one because that could be dangerous. Second thing I want to mention is that this is not some clickbait. I created a jet engine in 5 seconds AI slop clickbait. That's meant for old people or stupid people. Uh, you're meant to suffer as you're designing this because that's 90% of engineering. So this is not easy. And finally, I am aware that a lot of the, let's say, nuanced proportions are a bit off. And that's because everything is optimized for 3D printing. It means everything is a little bit fatter than it has to be, everything is a little bit thicker than it has to be, and everything is a little bit flatter than it has to be. So you're not some hotshot jet engine engineer if you point this out. And in fact, if you do point this out in the comments, I'm going to block you. So with that out of the way, let's start. So I'm going to hide the grid. I'm going to add the fan. I mentioned that I'm not going to explain how a jet engine works, but um, there is one thing that's typically omitted from the simplified jet engine diagrams that you see online, which is not what most of you will be familiar with, and this is the bearing housing. This is essentially what will hold the entire weight of the components. As I said, it's typically omitted. Essentially, it has a bearing through it, and the shaft will go through it, and this is what essentially suspends or holds the components. So we have to add 3 of these. Um, so after that, we will have the low pressure compressor. So you can mess with the various parameters. I'm just gonna go with the default. So the default here is 4 stages. You can go up until 7 or 8, I think, in this generator. I don't know. Next is the high pressure compressor. So this has 8 stages. I'm just gonna make them here. Yeah, there is a lot to talk about now. I'm going to pause here for a second and mention something. So one of the parameters is for the spacer clearance. So you have spacers here, which are 2 millimeters in length in this case. Now, as you know, when you 3D print things and assemble them, you typically want to have parts that are a little bit shorter than what they're supposed to be so that everything fits together. So if you print it like this with the 2 millimeter spacing, you're going to have an issue. So depending on the tolerances of your machine, you're going to have to decrease this value a little bit. I said this is not easy. Yeah, so after the high pressure compressor, I'm going to add a second bearing housing. By the way, I didn't mention that with the bearing housing, you do not have to really mess with any of the parameters, and that's because when you generate the casing, the engine casing, the bearing housing itself will expand that it becomes continuous with the casing, so you don't have to worry about that. So after this, we will add a combustion chamber. So I'm just gonna add a simplified combustion chamber. Again, I mentioned how this is not really the most accurate, but it's accurate enough that it will look good. But yeah. So after the combustion chamber comes the high pressure turbine. So we're going to add that. Oh, by the way, you can take any of these components individually and you can use them in other things. You can do what you want. After this, there is the low pressure turbine which we're going to add now. And after that comes the nozzle, which you were supposed to know again. By the way, I'm not a jet engine designer. I don't know if you can tell, but no, I mean, um, it took a lot of time to develop this, by the way. Single-handedly delayed the launch of the program by a month, I think. It's almost embarrassing to admit, but yeah. So we're going to milk it as much as we can. Yeah, so... Oh, and we forgot the bearing housing. You see, I was just saying how I'm not a jet engine designer. Uh, so I'm going to add a third and final bearing housing, and then comes the nozzle. It took so much time that I don't really like looking at it even. By the way, printing this will take a lot of time if you print it at the default dimensions. Default dimensions, by the way, would place the length of this at around 19 centimeters. So anyways, this is what it would look like. Next, we have to select all of the components, and we're going to let the very well designed algorithm to instantly generate an engine casing for it. So I'm just going to click, and it does so beautifully. We got a nice looking engine casing. On top of the casing, we're going to have the nacelle. So I'm just going to click on the nacelle, and we got a nacelle. If you want to be fancy, you can add a pylon. I mean, you should add a pylon, but you know, you have to check it. It's not on by default. You can make the pylon bigger using these boxes here. Yes. Now, one thing that's missing, this is going to be the shaft. So for the shaft, you have to use the shaft generator. It will generate a hexagonal shaft, and there's a lot of tweaking involved with it. So again, I said it's not easy, but you have to figure it out. And you can also do Boolean operations, for instance, and you can do a cutaway with it. If you if you do a cutaway, how will you hold all of the parts together? So the okay, I hope this is going to be clear, but you're 3D printing a jet engine, so you should see this. So this should be understandable. But when you do a Boolean operation, you should not go in the center line, but you should go a little bit offset so that you don't cut half of a circle, but you cut a little bit more than half of a circle. That way, when you have the nacelle, when the casing comes in, it will snap fit inside it. So if you don't know what that means, I don't know what to tell you, but yeah. If you do have any questions, though, you can ask these questions in the comments. I'm going to be nice and I'm going to answer the questions for a limited time. But I encourage you to ask, though, because maybe I didn't do the best job of explaining this. But yeah, I think that's about it. You can see it looks quite nice. You can do various things to it as well that I'm not going to show. This is also kind of in beta at the moment. It doesn't have any known bugs, but yeah, maybe like in the next version we will try to make it a little bit more user friendly. But for now, you know, this is what separates the boys from the men.